Cody asked me to do a little bit of this interview thing. We talked a little bit about doing this. He's technically a junior developer here at Waverly, but obviously has the potential to be whatever he wants to be. So we're going to do a little mock interview, and we're going to be kind of doing sort of a mid-level React developer interview, and just thought it'd be kind of fun to go through the process. Cody, you want to talk a little bit about what you do here at Waverly, how long you've been doing it, and kind of your experience and how you feel about interviews?
Yeah, sure thing. Junior, like as you were saying, junior front-end engineer here at Waverly. Self-taught, so I have 7 months, as long as I've been here, of experience, and so hopefully I don't fall flat in my face during this interview, and it is satisfactory.
There you go. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to start on my watch. I create this real interview, and we'll say like 25 minutes. We'll go till 6:30, and then we'll see how it goes. And that's normally how it goes. But we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks, Cody, for coming in today to do this interview. Obviously, we're looking for a mid-level React role, and we think your portfolio looks really good. You get a lot of potential. So we're going to get started with doing kind of some soft questions, kind of just verbal questions, technical, and then we're going to switch to doing some code stuff. I hope that's okay.
Yes.
How you feel? Are you
feeling
comfortable?
I'm guessing these soft questions is not open book or open internet.
This is not open internet. If you don't know, that's fine. Just say, hey, I don't know. I haven't ran into that, and that's totally fine. But these are just some good kind of React questions to kind of get going. So,
gotcha.
And then we'll try and scale up as we go. So if some of these seem too hard, that's fine. We're just trying to gauge where you're at. So let's talk a little bit about React. So when we talk React, how would you kind of describe the difference between like state and context?
Good question. State is just getting as brief as possible here. State is kind of at the component level, where context would allow you to share states, share a state or multiple states through the children components. Whatever happens to be a child, the context provider has to be wrapping those children in order for them to have access to the state.
What is it usually called when you like pass down prompts to like a bunch of child components? Is there a word that you usually use?
Yes, prop drilling. And I see where you're going there. Context allows you to avoid prop drilling.
Oh, there you go. That's good. So what if you have a child component, and the child component you want to actually trigger the state to change in the parent component? How would you do that?
I think I might be butchering the terms here, but you would have a hook in the context provider or in the context that would change or affect that state, and then you would use that hook inside of the component that you would like to change the state.
What if you didn't want to use context? So you have a child component and you want it to tell its parent, hey, something's changed. How would you do that?
That's a great question. And this is where I'm probably wrong. I'm going to preface this with saying that you could, and maybe this is probably not the answer you're looking for, but you could you could prop drill the state setter into that component and then use it there.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to go. Kind of one or two more things on React. So what is like, there's a lot of ways I could kind of phrase this question, but like what is, have you ever used Redux or any state management framework, and what are your thoughts on it?
I want to say when I first started my learning journey, I blindly followed a tutorial. This is when I was bad at learning, that used Redux. So I never really internalized any of the knowledge, but at that time, it felt like a lot of boilerplate to solve a problem that I wasn't aware of yet. I do know that now there's the Redux toolkit, which makes using Redux a lot easier, but I have not tried it. And what's another one? It was like Jotai. Never touched it.
What is a kind of like, what is a way to, like if I wanted to pass like an element to another element, pass a component to another component, what are some ways I want to pass a component to another component? Like I've got some good code, good component, but I want it to be consumed by another component. What are some ways to do that?
That's a good question. I know there's probably a better way of doing this. I know in our code base we have at least one instance I can think of where one of the props for that component is actually the other component, and we're passing it in that way and then using it that way. But I feel like there's probably a better way to do that.
Yeah.
So you would pass any arbitrary component, be able to use it in another component.
Yeah.
To pass it. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like I'm overthinking this.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That was kind of like one of those abstract ones. Let's dive a little bit into some actual code things, just because we're a little short on time. I want to make sure we get it in. If we have time, we'll go back to some of these more questions because I could do this all day. Let's just go, if you've got an IDE, VS Code or something like that, let's write some code, and then at the end, I'll have you use this code in a React application. So obviously there's a React interview. So first things first is I'm going to kind of give you a scenario, and what I'll do is if you could just write this out, I'm just going to give you some letters. So I'm going to say like A, B, C, D, and then this will all just be in a string, so all nonstop. So if you can just do these like all back to back, yeah, exactly, just A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, and then right after the D, I would do like 3 Ds, so just do D, 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 and then I would say E, F, G, H.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I want you to do, actually do I as well, just to make sure it's super clear. So what I want you to do is give me the longest set of characters that are next to each other that are different. So for example, A, B, C, D, those are 4 that are different, right?
I see.
But I don't want you to give me back A, B, C, D. I want you to give me back D, E, F, G, H, I, because it's the longest.
Yeah, I see. And you want to return the substring that is the longest, not the length.
Yeah, the actual characters. So I want you to, if this is, you pass that into that function, I want to get back D, E, F, G, H, I.
Okay. It's quite the long function, but
yeah, that's good. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm not here to, if you have any questions or you're kind of at a wall, we want to see how far we can get.
Okay. So first, I'm assuming I'm going to want to pass in the string. I'm just going to call it string. Actually, let's be a little more brief. Okay. So let's see. Now you've approached, I think the first thing
talk me through kind of what you think your approach is before you get into it.
I think what I'm going to start with, and there's definitely probably a better like string methods that I could do to achieve this, but for whatever reason, I always want to reach for dealing with arrays. So I would maybe I just call it string array, and then string.split. So now I should have a array of all the characters in here, so I can loop over that. And I know there's ways to do that with strings too, but let's go over here. Paste this string. Okay, let's see. So I'm splitting it now. Now it would be an array. Let's see. So I'm going to start with just with a for loop.
So what's your approach here?
My approach. So I think I want to keep like a running counter of what my longest string is. That will, because I'm gonna want to keep like, if I hit A, B, C, D, I would want to save that as like 4. Okay, so 4 once I hit the second D, I'd be like, okay, so I have 4 characters that are non-repeating, and then I would continue until I get another non-repeating. So I hit this D, and then I would count this amount of characters until I hit a repeat again. In this case, I would hit the end of the string, and then I would imagine I would want to do like almost like a math.max and compare the previous length to the new length before I get stopped. And then let's see, yeah, if I'm going down like a terrible path, feel free to stop me.
Yeah, I think what I would just kind of like a tidbit, just to kind of make sure you're thinking about thinking about this, is I would say first step is to try and get that string into an array of chunks of non-repeating characters. So
okay, I see.
It'd basically be, in this case, there'd be an array of three strings of A, B, C, D, 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 E, F, G, H, I. So that would be your 3 strings, and then you can get the longest string there. But those are, I think, the 2 operations you're trying to do. And yeah,
I see.
it's not so much trying to count the length, because once you have them chunked, then you can easily create the longest.
Yeah, I see. Right now we don't care too much about time complexity.
Yeah, no, we'll cross that bridge. We'll just kind of do brute force, just try and get it.
I see. So okay, so I'm gonna want to split this string.
And I think the good news is you don't necessarily have to split this string to be able to loop through it.
Yeah.
Just because, the string is an array of characters.
Okay, so kind of want to get some feedback going here.
Yeah.
For myself.
I think terminal's right. You go to the terminal, and then assuming it's in here, you should be able to node dot whatever the name of this thing is. You'll have to put on line 11. You'll put that in the string in quotes. So.
Yeah.
And you'll name it the terminal. There you go. Now you should be able to node, and then the name of this tab can be it. Nice. Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I'm very tempted to go for my original approach. But let me think about this for a second. So
yeah, just maybe clear out kind of your goals and just think, I want to create an array of non-repeating strings. So in other words, those chunks I was telling you about, the array of chunks. That should be your first goal. If you can do that, the rest is pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let's.
And I think you're on track with looping. You do want to loop through it beginning to end. There's no need to do multiple loops or anything like that.
Excuse my ignorance, but could you do like a for each on a string?
Yeah, well, I think you're not wrong to do the for loop. I think that's fine. And then to get each character, you just do the index of.
I see. Okay.
And that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Or you could do, yeah, I think that's fine.
Less than string dot length.
There you go.
Forgot how to spell. Okay. So sometimes it helps me to just be very explicit.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so let's see. I think if
How do you know if it's unique or not? How do you keep track of if it's unique?
And I might be currently thinking about this the wrong way, but the first thing I'm wanting to do is look at if the current character is the same as the, I guess let's say the next character, the next index over, then we probably want to chunk that out into one of our chunks.
I think the problem then is like AB wouldn't ever. Those would be multiple chunks. Does that make sense?
Wouldn't it be?
They should be, but just make sure you're.
Oh, so I'm doing non-repeating characters in that like
longest substring.
So AB. Yeah, they're not two repeating characters, but
yeah, like a subset. So amongst that set, it's all long. It's non-repeating.
I see. Okay. Let's do. Okay, in that case, let's do like substring. Like let's let substring equals to print. Okay, so my thought here is that I'm going to have this keep track of this said substring, and for each iteration of the loop, I'm going to be pushing I'm going to be appending the current character to the end of it. So let me think. Okay, so I would go A, B, C, D, and then at the point where I would want to break, which is right here, this substring should be this. And
so how do you know, hey, this is not unique anymore?
Yeah.
How do you check uniqueness?
Quick question, I guess. So if this was A, B, C, D, and then B, would that supposed to break it because B is in this substring?
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, that was a bad example there. I mean, maybe it's more useful to do B, or just at any point it hits something that's existed, then it's just its own chunk.
So I think in this if block, I think this if check still works. Whereas instead of checking that the current character is equal to that, I actually want to see if my substring includes that character. And then, okay, so if the next character is included in my substring, then I know, okay, break this up into a chunk. So let's do, let's instantiate a, let's just call it string array like I was before. Let's make it an empty array. And then I want to, like that, so substring, well, okay, string array dot push the substring, and then I want to say at that point, then I should pretty much reset this back to an empty string so I can continue. Okay.
One thing to look at too is line 11.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think this shouldn't be inside the for loop. This should be actually outside of it. Otherwise, it's just gonna get reset every time.
Probably the same with 10, right?
Same with the. You're right.
Something to keep in mind is line 11 there, line 12 now, with the I+1. Just make sure it doesn't check for something outside the loop.
Okay. Let's see. So I think
you could probably do it without doing the I+1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just hit it on the next go round.
Oh, I think I see. Okay, so I probably want to, instead of looking at the next character, I want to look at the current character, I think.
Yeah.
Current character. Okay, so if the substring includes the current character,
then it's yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Instead of looking ahead, I'm looking at the current.
Yeah.
The current character I'm iterating over. Okay. So at this point, let's kind of mentally put this in. Then I hit another D. This will push the substring. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think this should actually be anyone else, because we don't want to push to it if it's already in there, because otherwise, just with this example, I would have ended up with this when I break it off. Okay, so at this point, I will have an array. So
I just want to console print out what you have there. Return the sub or stir array. Yeah, just the end of that for Olivia. Yeah, just to see what we got.
String. Yeah, let's see. What am I doing on here?
You need to save your file probably.
Oh, that would probably make sense.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. So that doesn't work. Okay. So
you're getting some stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting one single element. So let me think. Why is that happening? So this happens. I push this substring to an array. Then I'm on this character. When I'm on this character, current character is D. The substring includes this. No. It should add it. So then yeah.
Just keep in mind, it only pushes when it includes it. So if it never runs into a duplicate, it won't ever push it.
Yeah, that does make sense. But then I'm still perplexed as to why this D didn't make it in there. Because theoretically, this D should have made it in there, and then I wouldn't have captured this because I never have a duplicate.
Yeah, maybe console log out subster, and then also console log out the current character on line 10 there.
Mm-hmm.
That would be.
Current character and substring. Okay, so save. Okay, cool. This is useful. It gets reset. At this point, I think I see. I think my order of operations is a little out of whack.
I think one thing to consider is
this
line 13.
This would have worked.
You don't want line 13 to be an empty string. You don't want line 13 to be an empty string because you're discounting the current character. You're saying current character.
Okay. Yeah.
You want it to reset it to be the current character.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We should catch some of that.
Yeah, that's why this is empty at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's bring back this test case stuff what it was. Cool. Okay, now I just have to solve the problem of running into the end of the array. So, okay, so I think at the very top here, Yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. This might not be in the right spot, but I want to, if
Where's somewhere else you know that you're at the end?
if I is equal to the string dot length minus 1.
Kind of where's somewhere without even doing an if check that you know, okay, I'm at the end. I've been through it all.
Oh, I get, yeah, outside the for loop. So I'm trying to think.
So at this point,
can I always?
At this point, what do you have? You have a
I have
a substir and a stir array, right? What's substir after the loop?
After the loop. Okay, so yeah, let's simplify. Yes. Okay.
So what do you want to do?
I want to push that whatever it is after the loop's done. I think it's safe to say it's okay to push the substring to that. I don't need to clear the substring anymore because I'm not using it anymore at this point.
Yeah, see what that gives you. I think you'll be pleased.
Pleasantly
There you go.
Yes.
So then you got the chunks, yeah. So now you just have to return the longest chunk.
Okay.
So you've made it to the hard part. That is the easy. This is
now. Okay. This is probably just absolutely terrible time complexity wise, but now I'm going to loop over this new array that I have. So yeah, it would help if I actually gave it a name. Now I think this is where I want to get into that math.max that I was talking about earlier.
okay.
But I'm not returning the length. I'm returning the actual string. Okay.
So how do you find the longest element in an array?
So yeah, there's probably a better way of doing this, but I kind of want to have. I'm just gonna call it max length for now. Say it's 0. Can't do that there. Let me reset over time.
I mean, you could do it there, just wouldn't do anything.
Okay, so let's see. So I'm looking at current value is equal to the string array at that index. Then let's see. If current val dot length is greater than should I pay any attention to what should I return if two strings are the same length?
Just the first
one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got it. So is greater than max. It's, first time it's gonna be set that. Longest string is equal to the current value. And then let's do what? And then probably missing stuff here, but I want to say I can just return the longest string.
Okay, let's see what you got. Nope.
Oh, save the file. Well, let's get rid of the console log, so this is not polluting the console.
Oh, we got a bug.
Oh, bug in the code.
Let's see what.
Yeah, let's erase my first approach.
I think you have line 22. Max isn't defined. You use a different on line 22.
Oh, yeah, max length.
Let's see what that gives us.
Oh,
There you go.
You want to throw any extra test cases at me to see?
I feel pretty good about that. How would you clean this up if you had like all day? What do you think would be like your first couple things you would do to clean up? Just, you don't have to actually change it, but just.
I have a feeling, and I think if I had more time to think about this, I'd probably be able to find it. I would hope that you could probably find this out in one pass, as opposed to doing 2 loops.
What's oh yeah, keep going.
No, that's I kind of don't have anything else profound to say.
What's the time complexity of this?
This is O of, I want to say O of n squared, but the length of this this array that I'm looping over isn't necessarily. Well, I guess I don't know how long this array could be, or how long the string could be. So I guess it's O of n squared.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good. We will. Yeah. Okay. We will follow up on that after the interview. We'll talk through some of this stuff. Okay. Real quick. I know we're a little over time, but could you create just the React to be able to just super basic, where there's an input and a submit button, and where you can put in an arbitrary string, and it returns the longest substring. So you use this function in that little React thing. So basically, I just want an input and a submit button. You click submit, and it just shows, oh, here's the longest substring. So kind of use this as kind of a util, and it can all be in one file, and just use that code sandbox.
I see. Yeah. Okay, so I should copy this function over to code sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it can all be in some file or whatever.
Cool. So I want to have an input, and then you put a string into the input, and it's going to return the longest string in some.
Just like an H2 or something.
Okay. So let's see. So I'm going to reach for some state here. Longest string. Let's not use the same name. Let's just say longest. Set longest. We're gonna start with an empty string. I'm assuming I need to input this.
Yeah, the dot period.
Okay, and then let's just use this H2 that's already existing here to render that longest. So we're gonna have to string right now.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's make this an input element. Good. Button. Check. Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna. There's probably a better way to do this, but I'm just trying to be fast. So set. I'm gonna need a state for this too. And this will hold the value of the input. Value is equal to input, and then on change. Oh, let's. Terrible syntax here. Let's, I need the event. Let's set input to e.target.value, and then want the onClick of this to run that function we created in the previous step. Okay, character, and then I'm going to pass in whatever the current input is. Okay, let's check it out. Oh wait, no, set longest. Oh, okay, so let's do this is kind of hacky. Actually, instead of returning, let's just set longest. Cool, I think this should work. Let me go into my VS Code and steal the string. Should do the same thing. Woo! Okay.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah, we're throwing something different in there, and we'll just click submit.
I got the job. Let's do that example you were talking about earlier. A, B, A, B, A, B.
Nice. Awesome.
See. Ooh, actually, that's concerning. I wonder if that's a problem with my function or my React skills.
It may be just not taking that first one, or the first one for some reason. Well, we're kind of at time, so we'll call it quits there. But we'll transition to kind of like a debrief. But but thanks. We'll do kind of like a debrief here. So Cody, what would you think, and what were your thoughts?
It's surprising how much you forget and go straight out the window as soon as the pressure's on, so to speak. Well, this is actually awesome practice where you're gonna feel that pressure when you're in a real interview. So being under the gun and really being able to pull from your knowledge base while you're under pressure is definitely a skill that I want to work on myself, and I think is definitely important for anybody who's aspiring to get a job through interviewing. It's surprising how much you can kind of just freeze up.
Yeah, I think is there a part of it that was the most stressful, or the part that you're like, okay, I got this, do like emotional roller coaster bit?
I would definitely say the creating the function, finding the longest substring, non-repeating character function is difficult, because anytime you get into like heavy logic-based stuff, that's where I feel like it can be more difficult. Whereas like you get into like the React stuff, that stuff I do here at work just about every day, so it kind of becomes almost muscle memory, like doing inputs and dealing with state and doing all the React stuff. Whereas writing like functions with heavy logic, whether it be like a util function, isn't something that really comes up too often in the front-end development world. So that's definitely the part I want to work on. Yeah.
So what would you say? You said kind of just the algorithm part of this. Do you feel like this algorithm had anything, a part of it that was like really tricky, or do you think it was just the whole thing was kind of really tricky?
No, it's definitely not really tricky, and like I would assume if this was like Stack Overflow question, it'd be considered an easy one.
Yeah.
It's just more of kind of like trying to think of the correct approach to go down the first time. Whereas like a lot of times when I'm sitting at home doing a Stack Overflow, I will sit there for the longest time trying different approaches, console logging out what I'm getting, and trying to every step of the way kind of seeing what's happening, stepping through my function. Whereas I don't want to really waste time in a timed interview like this, exploring different outlets. Whereas I kind of want to take more time to sit there and think like, okay, what approach am I going to take that's not going to lead to a dead end.
Yeah. When you say Stack Overflow, you mean like leak code, or are you actually
leak code? Are you
solving problems on Stack Overflow?
Swap those in my brain.
No, you're good. So what would you say is like your takeaway from this, like moving forward?
I think my takeaway, and especially for my professional career, is there's definitely value in doing mock interviews just to get under pressure, because you could sit there and do, I'm sure it'll help, do leak codes all day, but yeah, it just feels different when you have someone on the other end asking you these questions and awaiting your response. And then I think a skill that I kind of want to work on, because I felt like there's definitely a few times where I got real quiet and I'm just in my own head, is I think oftentimes in interviews they want you to kind of talk through your thought process and what you're thinking about, what approaches are you looking to take, and that can be hard to do when you're trying to deep focus on something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a takeaway that I've gotten from this.
Yeah. Well, I've got positive feedback and some opportunities for growth. What do you want to hear first?
Let's hear the opportunities for growth. Okay. Let's end on a good note.
We'll end on a good note. So, the algorithm stuff, I thought you definitely like. I think once you got going, it was good. There was kind of some just hit a wall moments that I think you maybe could have talked through a little bit better. I remember I was like, "Oh, what are you thinking? Just tell me what you're thinking." Those kind of things. That would have helped, just because you assume the worst if they're not speaking. I definitely think that there's you probably could say I know this is probably dumb. You could probably hold back on that, because if it's dumb, it's dumb. It's not dumb. You're just saying, hey, this is brute force. Maybe say something similar to that, like, oh, this is just a brute force approach. I'll clean it up later, and not like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. There definitely is, from a code perspective, some concepts as far as we can see the code here, but for example, not necessarily having a separate thing to count the length, but just getting the length off the string itself instead of having to say max length. Just say, you already have the string, right? So you could actually just say for that I references that string, so you could say string R I of the index I and just say later than that instead of having to actually keep a separate number for that. So there's little cleanup things that'd probably be a little cleaner. I think there's overall it was fine. I think it was just kind of it was a tricky problem, so it's kind of hard to really get it in one fell swoop. Also, I think that the time complexity for this is actually it's 2 loops, but they're sequential, so it's 2 in. Oh, so and you drop the constant, so it's just
it's not a loop within a loop.
Okay, so it's just so this is linear. So this is actually, you're saying, oh man, time complexity probably could be better. I mean, in this case, I think it's as good as it could be. There's some code cleanup and those kind of things, I think the only other thing I would say is includes is awesome, but it is a loop. Includes loops through those characters, so that's not great. Somebody could dock you a little bit for that instead of using an object or something to say, hey, is this in this? You could do
key value pairs.
Exactly, and that's another way of just saying, hey, if it's in there, then it's a duplicate and then resetting the object. So there's some ways to tidy up that, but none of it was a shocker. And I didn't explain it well, some of this was just part of that. For the React stuff, I thought it was fine. I don't think there was any red flags there. I think it was okay, you plug this in. I didn't like how you knew the fact, some of the the basics there, and you pulled in the state, and that was all fine. And there's been a ton of time on that, but because I think we covered a lot of the algorithm side of things, but I think the biggest thing is just getting maybe not familiar with that exact specifics, but enough of the mechanics that you can kind of piece together, even when you're stressed, piece together a decent solution. Oh, and also looking at it again, if you know you're gonna go through the whole thing, and you don't necessarily need the index. In this case, you don't need the index for the going through the looping through the arrays. You could have done a for each or something like that. Or for in. I think it's for in. In other words, you didn't have to do the I and pull it out to do the current value. You could just. So anyway, there's the little oh yeah, that could be cleaner. But yeah, I mean, I would say after this, feel pretty confident. We had a mid-level role for React role. I'd be he's a little weak on the algorithm side of things. Maybe definitely not senior level for the algorithm, but definitely for mid-level, I feel very comfortable that you can handle yourself with the React, answer the React questions well, and stuff like that. Pretty much had good answers to some of those things, and none of those were any red flags there.
Yeah, I definitely say the one that I was most embarrassed about is just not really thinking of the fact that you could just pass in an index to a string to get the character at that at that value, thinking that I had to break it up into an array where the string kind of already acts in that way.
Yeah, well, I think it's not the end of the world. I think it's just like there are some approaches that would need it to be an array, so I don't think that's like the worst thing. There are certain things where you're like, oh, that's amateur hour. That I didn't ever feel like, oh, what in the world? Because this is a trickier one to like find not just the prefix, as long as unique prefix. That's one problem. Where it's just you starting the beginning and you wait till you break. That's way easier. Finding just it could be anywhere in there means that you got to break this into two problems, like dump them all in an array, and then once you have that, pull out the longest. So, but considering this was like a really short interview, like a 30-minute one, for you to be able to kind of wrap it up, and also plug it into React, I thought was pretty good. So, yeah.
Thanks for the feedback. I look forward to the role.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah, well, thanks, and thanks everyone for tuning in. I think this was really good. So awesome. Well, thanks, Cody.